You are sitting at your desk at 7:14 in the morning with the journal open and the pen already uncapped, and you are in the middle of a sentence when it happens again. You are writing about the appointment. You are trying to find the word for the specific kind of dread you feel about Thursday's meeting, the one with your manager, the one you have not been able to explain even to yourself, and you are reaching for it, the right word, the one that is not quite anxiety and not quite dread, but something between them, something more specific, and before you arrive at it, the word is already written. Foreboding. You did not write it. Your hand moved. The word is in your handwriting, in your ink, and you did not choose it. You stare at it for a long time. It is exactly right. That is the part you keep coming back to, not that it was wrong, not that it was strange, that it was exactly right, the precise word you were reaching for, already there before you reached. You close the journal. You set the pen down, go back. Let's start from when it was still ordinary. You have kept a journal for 6 years. The habit started the way most habits do, because someone said it would help, because you were going through something and you needed a place to put it. A navy blue notebook, college ruled, bought at a pharmacy at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday because the day had been long and you needed to do something that felt like control. The habit stuck. 6 years, 41 notebooks. The navy ones at first, then whatever was on sale, then a specific kind of stone gray softcover you buy in packs of 3 from a stationery shop 2 blocks from your office. The pen is always the same, a medium point black rollerball, the kind that runs out in about 6 weeks if you are writing every day, which you are. The routine is this: you wake at 6:45, you make coffee in the same white ceramic mug with a small chip on the lip that you have never replaced because replacing it would require thinking about it, and you sit at the desk by the window and you write. Not about your feelings, not exactly. You write what happened, what you noticed, what you're thinking about. It is less a diary and more a transcript of whatever is running in the background. You write about 300 words most mornings, sometimes less, occasionally more if something is working itself out. Your handwriting is slightly cramped, slightly forward-leaning, the letters consistent enough that you can flip back through 6 years of notebooks and recognize yourself on every page. That is the thing about journals, they are evidence, a running record of who you have been. You did not know yet that this mattered. It happens first on a Wednesday in early March, though you only identify it as the first time later. You are writing about a conversation with your sister, a long phone call the previous evening, the kind where you talk around the real thing for 40 minutes before one of you says it directly. You are trying to remember the word she used to describe your mother's behavior, a word you had not heard before, a clinical-sounding word, the kind you might look up. You are reaching for it, pulling at it, and then it is already written, enmeshment. You sit with that for a moment. Then you think you must have heard it, filed it somewhere in the back of your mind while you were half listening, and retrieved it in writing before your conscious attention caught up. This happens. Language is faster than awareness sometimes. The brain pulls things you don't remember storing. It is a reasonable explanation. It satisfies you. You move on to the next paragraph. You write another 140 words and they are all yours, and the morning is ordinary and the coffee is good, and the light through the window is doing the thing it does in March where it comes in low and a little gold, and you finish the entry and cap the pen and go shower. You do not think about it again for 9 days. The second time you notice. You are writing about Thursday's meeting, the one that had felt like foreboding, and you are trying to articulate what you expected to happen, and the sentence finishes. He is going to give the project to someone else and tell you it is a reshuffle. You stop. The meeting hasn't happened yet. It is 7:22 a.m. on Thursday morning and you have not seen your manager and you have not heard anything. You don't know this, you cannot know this. And yet there it is in your handwriting, and it is specifically granularly wrong in the way that a guess is wrong, not a fear, not a vague anxiety about professional disappointment, but a sentence with a subject and an object and a mechanism. A reshuffle. Here is the choice, and you see it clearly. You stop writing entirely, go back to the shorthand notes on your phone, surrender this particular habit for the safety of not knowing what your hand might write next. Or you keep writing and you document every instance from now on, which means looking directly at it, which means treating it as real. You think about the 41 notebooks, you think about 6 years of evidence, you keep writing, but you start dating every entry to the minute. You start writing slowly, watching your hand, giving your thoughts time to surface before the pen touches the page. The meeting is at 2 o'clock. He gives the project to Marcus and tells you it is a reshuffle. You do not tell anyone. Over the next 3 weeks, you write every morning and you watch. Most days, nothing happens. The words are yours. The sentences form in the ordinary way, one word finding the next, the rhythm of your own thinking made visible. Normal. Then on a Sunday, you are writing about the weekend and you are describing the restaurant where you had dinner the night before, and in the middle of a sentence about the service being slow, you write, "The couple at the table near the window had just gotten engaged. She said yes outside. He is going to post about it tomorrow using the word journey. You saw no proposal. You did not notice a couple. You were with a friend and you were talking and you were barely paying attention to the room. On Monday morning, the restaurant is tagged in a post. A couple. The word journey in the caption. You sit for a long time with that. The following Thursday, you are writing about nothing in particular, a passing thought about whether to change your gym, and mid-sentence the pen writes, your downstairs neighbor's name is David. He is moving out in 6 weeks. You will not know until you see the boxes. You don't know your downstairs neighbor's name. This is the thing that makes it something other than coincidence. The thoughts are not random. They have a structure. They arrive in the middle of other thoughts, completing sentences that were going somewhere else, redirecting them with information you do not have. Not your fears, not your hopes. Specific, verifiable, correct. Something is not guessing, something knows. You spend a week researching, which is the word you use because it sounds more stable than desperately reading about involuntary cognition at 1 am. You find the framework, automaticity. The brain, highly practiced in language production, begins to outpace conscious thought. A writer's brain, specifically one that has produced 300 words every morning for 6 years, has built a kind of linguistic autopilot. It runs ahead. It knows where sentences are going before you do. What you are experiencing is not intrusion. It is your own expertise working below your awareness. There is an entire literature on this. Poets talk about it, novelists talk about it, the sentence knowing where it wants to go, the prose pulling ahead of the intention. You read 4 articles and 2 forum threads from writers who describe the same sensation, the words arriving, not being placed. You close the laptop. For the first time in 3 weeks, you feel the specific relief of an explanation that fits. You open the journal the next morning and you write about relief. You write about the automaticity framework. You write, I was afraid of something that was just my own mind, practiced enough to run ahead of itself. The thoughts are mine. They are faster than I am. That is all this is. The words are yours. The sentence forms the way sentences always do. You exhale. And then you remember the restaurant, the couple, the word journey. Automaticity explains your own thoughts completing themselves. It does not explain information you did not have. You cannot automate a stranger's Instagram caption. You cannot automate the name of a neighbor you have never spoken to. The framework explains the feeling of the glitch, the sensation of words arriving before you reach them, but it does not explain what the words contain. The explanation is reasonable. The content does not care. You go back to the first entry, the word enmeshment. You had been so certain you must have heard it and filed it. You call your sister. You ask carefully if she used that word on the phone. She did not. She had not heard the word before. She had to look it up later after your call because it described something she had been trying to name for years. You did not write what your brain already knew. You wrote something that hadn't been said yet. Here is what you know now. The thoughts are completing themselves with information that is accurate, specific, and in some cases not yet in the world when you write it. Not possible information, future information, correct information. There are 2 things you can do. You can stop writing permanently, close the practice, scatter the notebooks, remove the anchor entirely. No more morning journal, no more pen uncapped in the early light, no more record. This costs something real, 6 years of a habit that has been, if nothing else, a record of who you are. It also does not guarantee safety. Whatever is using the journal to reach you has been using your thoughts, not just the paper. The journal is only where you noticed it, or you can do the other thing. You can write a test. A specific question directed not at yourself, but at whatever has been finishing your sentences. Write it clearly in the middle of an otherwise ordinary entry and leave a space and wait to see if your hand moves. This decision cannot be undone. Asking is different from noticing. Asking is acknowledgement. Asking is a response. The ticking clock is this. Tomorrow morning you will sit at the desk, the journal will be there, and your hand will reach for the pen the way it always does because 6 years of habit is not something you can simply override with intention. You will write. The question is what you will write. You pick up the pen, you write, if you are there, what are you doing to me? Your hand keeps moving in your handwriting in your ink. We are not doing anything to you. We are correcting the errors. You have always made errors. We have always corrected them, you simply started watching. You close the journal, you do not throw it away. You put it in a box with the other 41 notebooks, the navy ones, the sail ones, the stone gray soft covers in packs of 3, and you tape the box and you write nothing on the outside of it because you do not want to write anything at all right now. You carry the box to the storage unit 3 blocks away. You use the key you keep on a hook by your door. You place the box on the bottom shelf and you lock the unit and you walk home and your hand feels very light. You buy a pack of index cards and a pencil. Short notes, you decide, fragments, nothing long enough for a sentence to finish itself without you. At work the next morning, someone asks how your weekend was and you start to answer and you feel the words beginning to arrange themselves before you reach them. Fine, quiet, went for a walk, the weather was good for March, and you recognize for the first time that this is what it has always felt like and that you did not used to notice it. That is the cost, not the notebooks, not the 6 years of habit now in a storage unit. The cost is that you cannot unknow what attention feels like. Every sentence now has a seam where it joins the thought you began and the thought that finished it. Most of the time the finish is yours, most of the time. Here is what you know now, stated plainly, the way you would state anything you have finished examining. The morning you wrote enmeshment, that was not the first time. You went back through the notebooks after the storage unit before you packed them. You went back 2 years and then 3 and then 4 and you started keeping a different kind of record, a list. Moments in your journals where a sentence went somewhere you had not planned, where a word arrived that was more exact than you could account for, where a paragraph completed itself in a direction you did not choose. There were 47 of them across 6 years. The first was in the 11th notebook from 4 years ago, 18 months before you noticed anything at all. You had written, in the middle of a description of your morning, "The thing about the apartment is that it has always known you were temporary here." You moved out 8 months later. At the time you thought it was a mood, a passing dissatisfaction. It did not read like information, it read like a feeling, it was information. This is what the realization looks like when it arrives without drama. 47 instances across 6 years, the first one 4 years before your awareness, and not one of them wrong. Not a single sentence that finished itself and later turned out to be inaccurate. Every correction, every completion, every word that arrived before you reached it correct. The thoughts were never intrusions, they were corrections. Something has been editing you, and now you are aware of it, which means something has changed in the relationship between you and whatever this is. You started watching, you started asking. The conversation has begun, which means it had not before been a conversation. It had been something quieter than that, something patient. This morning you made the coffee, you sat at the desk by the window, you had the index cards and the pencil the way you decided. You wrote 3 fragments, short, controlled, nothing long enough to finish itself. On the 3rd card, in the middle of a 4-word observation about the light, you wrote a 5th word. You had not reached for it, it was exactly right. You noticed, most people don't, most people explain it away, right up until the explanations stop fitting and there is nothing left but the pattern. Subscribe. The next story already knows how it ends.